Welcome to the October the 5th, 2004 taping of It Happened in Grand Prairie. As we bring you the history of our city of Grand Prairie and people that are really important to making that history. And some continuing to make history this very day, and that's our case today. We're at our history tape number 528. And that is way down the pike, but the lady that we have with us today really certainly is way down the pike in her role with the Grand Prairie ISD. We are so pleased to document today a wonderful young lady, Rosie Cortez Mendez. Rosie, welcome to the set, darling.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we're so glad to have you. And following on the footsteps of your sister,
Yes.
which is very exciting because we couldn't do without you and Esmeralda, because in the Grand Prairie ISD count on you all for a lot of wonderful things. And we're just so pleased for you to be here to talk about yourself. And
Thank you.
I know that's kind of hard to do sometimes, but we want to document your importance to your family, to the schools, to the city of Grand Prairie, and to the United States, but especially as we're continuing to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. And with those names, we couldn't mistake you for being Hispanic, could we? Isn't that great?
No, you cannot. Yes, I'm
Yes.
very, very proud to be Hispanic.
Very, very proud. All right, we want to find out a little bit about the real Rosie. Would you tell us where you were born, give us your parents' names and maybe your siblings, and name some of them, and let's talk about it.
Okay, my name is Rosie Cortez Mendez,
Okay.
and I was born in San Benito, Texas.
All right.
A lot of people don't know where that is.
Oh.
Well, that's way down in south by Harlingen, by South Padre Island,
Okay.
close to Matamoros, Mexico.
Okay.
And I was born and with 5 older brothers, and then I came along, and then another brother, and then my sister. So she's the baby of the family. So I guess I'm in there in the middle somewhere.
Yes, but one thing about it, after those 4 brothers, I know they pampered you when you were little because you were the first girl.
Yes.
And that was very important, wasn't it?
very, very important. And I also had to make sure that everybody knew who I was. I guess that's why I am who I am, because I had to assert myself at an early age.
With those 4 boys,
Yes.
you really did. Give us your parents' names, please.
My parents' name is Jose and Maria Cortez
And Maria's maiden name was?
Monreal. Maria Monreal.
That's
A
great.
beautiful name.
That is very unusual, very
Yes, it
beautiful.
is.
That's great. And you've named, in fact, you had some brothers, and you've named Esmeralda, but are there any of your brothers in this territory here?
No, all of my brothers stayed in South Texas.
Down in the South Texas area.
And I moved over here in 1980 when I got married with my husband. He works at Vought Aircraft
Yes.
here in Grand Prairie, and that's how I came to come over here. And then Esmeralda graduated and got married and followed her sister to Grand Prairie.
Yes, and that husband's name is Tony, right?
Yes, my husband's name is Tony
That's right.
Mendez, and we have a beautiful daughter, Amanda.
Amanda. Okay, we're going to get more about that in a little bit, but now let's go back to the real site in San Benito. Now, what did your parents do for a living?
My father was a crew leader for migrants.
All
We
right.
were migrant workers. We would travel all over. In fact, I went to schools, different schools all over the States.
Yes.
I would not be in San Benito very long. We would leave like way early March, April at the latest, and we would travel. I remember to Scout Bluff, Nebraska. We would hoe beads there.
Yeah.
And we would go to Colorado.
Yeah.
We would go to Ohio and pick tomatoes and pickles. And then we would go to Michigan and pick apples.
Well, you just made the whole United States. You got to be a travelite, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Oh, and you learned so much geography as well as being able to follow your family. Well, did you get to do any of the work, or did you do the dishes, or what?
Oh, I did everything.
Oh, yes.
You did everything in my family.
Yes.
And we worked out in the fields. And what I remember most about working in the fields is working very, very hard, early
Yeah.
morning till sundown, but working with people, family, and feeling loved.
Oh,
That
yeah.
unconditional love we work hard. Everybody goes, you were a migrant worker? I go, yes, and I'm proud to be a migrant worker. We would travel all over. We had fun. I was with family. I worked hard, but I always felt loved.
And you always had plenty to eat doing that
Plenty
job.
to eat. And speaking of working, I worked in the fields, and then I also cooked. I had to help my mother cook since I was the oldest daughter, and we had not only to feed all my brothers, my 7 brothers, but I also had to feed field hands.
Yes.
My mother would feed the ones that
Since
came.
your dad was the leader, she would do the cooking.
Right.
That is great.
And she worked too.
Yes.
I mean, everybody in my family worked. My mother, I came to know that a woman is very, very strong and works multiple jobs and is multitask and is a strong woman.
Oh, that's great. She had to be to raise all of those wonderful children and be a cook and everything.
Work
for
in the field
family.
hands and
work
be
in-
supportive to my father.
Yes, that is really great. Now, let's get back down to San Benito. Did you ever go to school in San Benito?
Yes.
Did you start to school? All right. And
Never finished school, and in fact, we had a special school. It was a migrant school.
Good.
And unfortunately, we were out in portables, but we had a special school. We would go long hours. We would go like from 7:30 till 4:30 p.m., and that's because we were trying to make up for what we lost, I think. But I remember that we were segregated from the real school, and we were in the migrant school, but it was the same building,
Yes.
different building, but same site.
Now, when you were in San Benito, are there any teachers that you remember in the schools that you went to there that were real mentors and helped you a
Yes.
lot? Name drop.
I remember Mr. Ornelas. He was a wonderful teacher. Mr. Watkins.
Yeah.
They were all mentors to me. Miss Mount, the English teacher, they would always encourage me to be the best that I can be. I'll always value them. And I had principals that were interested in me as well. Mr. Miller, Mrs. Garza. I mean, I had wonderful people. Miss Robinson. I still remember them all.
Oh, that is so great. Do you ever get to see them anymore?
Sometimes.
Do you keep in touch with any of them?
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do. Isn't that wonderful?
Some of them are gone, but I still, when I go down home, I still look them up and I visit them if I can.
Do you go to the old school reunions and see all of the people that you grew up with partially and touch base with your teachers?
Yes, when I can, I do, because that's a very important part of my life.
That's wonderful. Now, after elementary school, where did you go?
I went to
A middle school or a high school? Did you get to go to a high school?
I got to go to a high school, but again, it was a special school for the migrants.
All
But
right.
yes,
And where was that?
right there at the same site in San Benito, but it was just different.
It was held different because you had to have different hours, different courses and everything. In your secondary grades, were there people in that really said, come on now, Rosie, you can be anything you want to be, and you believed it?
Yes, I had people, I always said, I don't know what I want to do with my life, and they would go, you need to go to college. And not only that, the teachers, but my father, I have to give credit to my father. My father was the one that instilled education to my family.
Yes.
He would say, my father, he had a second grade education, but he was the smartest man. He would always say, you have to get an education because the fields are not going to be here forever, and you all have to be prepared for the future.
Yes.
And he would send, this would make me very upset, he would send all my older brothers to begin school in September.
Yes.
Remember, we were in Ohio, and he would send them home. But he never sent me. And so
Yeah.
I had to say, hey, Dad, what about me? And he said, well, you're just going to get married. I said, no, I'm not. And I didn't. I didn't get married. And he was so, so proud of me because I didn't get married till I was like old. Now that would be considered old maid. I was 24 years old when I got married.
Yes. That's wonderful.
After I finished school and showed him that, yes, a woman can do it too. Although I think my dad knew me. He knew me well. So he used reverse psychology on me.
He certainly did. And then when you decided to go to college, who encouraged you to do that, and where'd you go, and how'd you get the money to go?
My mother actually encouraged me because, remember, my father, he thought I was just going to get married. So come April, he would go, come on, Rose, let's go. And I would go, Mom, I don't want to go. So my mom had to fight with him and tell him that I was going to stay and go to school.
Yes.
And she fought and I stayed, and one of my brothers had to stay and protect me and be there with me.
Yes.
And I went, and I just had something to prove. And we couldn't afford a school, so I had to get scholarships.
All right.
I had to work hard and be the best that I can, get straight A's. That came easy for me back then. Now it's harder.
It's harder to do, isn't it? And what was your first education outside of the San Benito area? Where'd you go?
I went to Pan American University in
Pan
Edinburgh.
American.
Mhm.
Okay, and stayed there how many years?
Actually, it took me 5 years because I always worked. I always remember
Yes.
we didn't have money, so
Yeah.
I remember working at Woolco department store. I don't
Yes.
know that they have any more. We don't have any more, but that's where I work at Woolco department store, and they loved me there, and they let me work around my school schedule. So I worked full time, and I went to school full time. So therefore, it took me 5 years to get my bachelor's degree, but I got it.
And you studied your bachelor's degree in what arena?
Social work.
Social work. You
I wanted,
decided to give
yes.
Yes, and social work, why that?
I just wanted to help people.
All right.
I wanted to help people as people had helped me, and I wanted to make a difference in
And-
someone's life.
And now that you are bilingual, because you did take all the English that you could, did you ever experiment with your social work while you were in college, or did you wait till you finished your college to begin any outside work with that?
Actually, I graduated and I got married in the same year, in 1980, and that's when I moved
That's
to...
your magic year then,
Yes.
isn't it? Yes.
That's when I moved to Grand Prairie, Texas, too.
Yes.
And my first job was in Arlington at Texas Commerce Bank. I became a loan officer, I remember,
Yes.
because I couldn't find a job right away in my field.
Yeah.
And my husband didn't want me going to Dallas because he thought I would get lost.
Yes.
And here in Arlington, it was close by Grand Prairie.
And he was going to the Grand Prairie area to work at Vought.
At
then, wasn't
Vought,
he?
so
What
he-
did he do for a living?
He was an aircraft mechanic.
Aircraft mechanic. Oh,
Mhm.
that's good. That's stability.
Yes.
They're still using them, aren't they?
Oh, yes.
Oh, that is wonderful. And then after going to the Arlington Bank, what happened to Rosie?
After that, I went to work at Marillac Social Center that was in West Dallas, and I
Mhm.
lasted there a year, and then I went to Texas Department of Human Services
And where was that located?
in Dallas.
In Dallas. You
In
did.
Dallas.
You did finally let you go downtown to work.
I did.
Yes.
And guess what? When I got my job at Texas Department of Human Resources, I was pregnant with my daughter.
Oh, that is great.
I still remember that. Those were all significant years
Yes, they were.
in my life.
That's wonderful.
And they hired me, 9 months pregnant, and they hired me.
Yes.
I guess because I was educated and they found someone that knew what they were doing, and I was bilingual. That
And you
was
would
very,
stay
very
with them.
important.
Yeah.
Yes. And I stayed with them for 10 years.
10 years.
I investigated referrals on physical and sexual abuse, and I specialized in sexual abuse. And I did a lot of things there at Department of Human Resources. I was a trainer. I worked in foster cares, in adoptions.
And after that 10-year period, what happened to Rosie?
It's funny, I went from the state, then I went to the county, to Dallas County.
Okay.
I worked at a residential facility for adjudicated juvenile delinquents in
Yes.
Youth Village
Oh.
over there by Wilmer.
Yes.
And then from there they stole me to Lee Tot Center, a juvenile facility as well. And there I was a non-residential counselor.
So you have just made the gamut of the social study arena. You studied almost every phase of that, haven't you?
Mhm.
And not only studied it, but you've performed in it.
Mhm.
Oh, that is great.
And during that time, I lost my mother. I remember that that's why I left Department of Human Resources, because when I lost my mother was my best friend, my very, very best friend. I hope I don't cry, but she was my very best friend. And when she died, I said, what do I want to do with the rest of my life?
Yes, uh-huh.
If I was to die, have I done everything that I want to do?
Mhm.
And the answer was no. So what did I do? With the support of my husband, because he had to take care of my young daughter, I went back to school and got my master's.
And you went where to get that rest of your education?
Amber University in Garland.
In Garland.
And it took me 4 years again because I was working
Oh,
full time.
Yes.
So it took me 4 years to get my master's, but I took one class every semester for 4 years, and in 1994, I got my master's in counseling.
1994, and counseling, that is one of the top priorities, isn't it?
Yes.
In your
And during
work.
all that time, I've always remember I had a mother that was multitask. So I worked at real estate here in Grand Prairie with Randy,
Yes.
Century 21 part-time.
McCracken.
Yes,
Randy
I
McCracken.
remember.
Yes.
On Carrier.
Yes.
Yes.
That's good. So you've had something in the community as well as doing all
Mhm,
this counseling
mhm.
and everything. What brought you to the Grand Prairie ISD?
My sister was working at Grand Prairie ISD.
That's Esmeralda.
Esmeralda. And during this time, I also had worked I ran a treatment and intervention facility in Oak Cliff, the Phoenix Project.
Uh-huh.
I worked there, and from there, TCADA stole me, Texas Commission on Alcohol and Drug Abuse.
Yes.
I travel all over the state and monitor and ensure that our federal dollars were being spent correctly. And I was traveling all over the states. I love my job, but my daughter needed me at
Needed
that
you at
time.
home,
And my sister said, there's this job opening. And I said, oh, I've never thought about working for the school. And she said, oh, you'll love it. We need you. I know that you're going to make a difference, and I want you in Grand Prairie.
Isn't that great? What an encouragement.
And
She's your younger sister.
Yes, she is. She's my younger sister.
What a mentor.
And she said, I want you here. I know you're going to make a difference. I know you're going to touch many lives. Please, please apply. So I applied, and Lord and behold, I got the job right away.
That is great.
And I've been here since
And now you are
1987.
the Safe and Drug-Free Schools Coordinator. Do you have other people working with you?
I have a drug and alcohol counselor for the middle schools, but I also supervise other people as well. Like we have 2 LCDCs that work at the Lamar AEP
Yes,
Center
okay.
from our collaboration with Greater Dallas Council.
Yes.
Then I also have a young lady that works with the middle schools, Arno and Lee, and she's with our collaboration from Dallas Challenge. And now I have 2 other ladies that are going to be working at the 2 ninth grade centers, South and Grand Prairie, and they're going to be doing groups on making the right choices to not to do drugs.
Oh, yes. I noticed with a great deal of interest that you work outside the community, president of the Grand Prairie Coalition of LULAC, vice president of the Lions Club, president of Defiant, which is drug-free youth in Texas.
Yes.
You are busy as a cranberry merchant.
And I love it.
And you love all of it.
I love it.
Yes.
I wouldn't be anywhere that I didn't love it, and I love working
And
for
where
Grand
is your
Prairie.
station of work now? Are you out at Travis or out at the Grand Prairie ISD Center or where?
I'm everywhere.
You're everywhere. No wonder I couldn't catch you for being on this show.
Yes, I'm at all schools. In fact, this morning I went to South Grand Prairie, and then I went to Arnold, and then I went to Seguin, and then I went back to my office. My office is at the administration center,
Okay.
at the Ed Center,
Yeah.
but I go to all schools and
Okay.
to the community.
Do you ever work with the new Red Ribbon Week project? Or do you tell
Yes,
me
I
about
head up
that?
the Red Ribbon Project.
You head it up? Okay, let's talk about it.
That's coming up. That's going to be October 25th through the 29th, and it's our big project of the year, Red Ribbon campaign. It's an anti-drug campaign, and it originally started with Kiki Camarena. There was a DEA special drug agent that got killed in Mexico because of his war against drugs.
Yes.
And ever since then, we celebrate that. And in fact, we should be doing that year-round.
Yes.
And I encourage people to do that. So during that week, I'll be visiting all the community, giving prizes to those that wear a red ribbon, and they can come to my office and pick up a red ribbon. This year's slogan is, United We Stand for a Drug-Free Land.
Oh, that's all. Did you create that little rhyme?
There were millions of them, but no, the whole district helped me.
Came up with that.
Mhm.
That is really wonderful.
It's teamwork.
Yes, it is. Do you work with Lifeline? The Lifeline for families, the one for the homeless families that
With Christine
with
Gonzalez.
Christine Gonzalez.
Yes, we work in collaboration.
So y'all all internet work with each other.
Yes, because remember, it takes all of us working together
As a team.
to make a difference, and we do make a difference.
How do you work with the parents? Do you have special parent sessions, or do you just work with the boys and girls?
No, I work with the parents as well. A lot of parents call me because they see that there's a problem with their children, and I do counseling with them. Plus, I also do a weekly group, every Tuesday at Brighter Tomorrows. And I
Now, let's
invite
talk about that. That is something.
every Tuesday
Every
for the
Tuesday at what
past 4
time?
years, 5:30 to 6:30.
In the evening.
In the evenings, and actually it lasts till 7
Yes.
usually. But I invite all parents to come there, and we talk about how to successfully raise your child with love.
Where do you all meet?
At the Brighter Tomorrows on Densman.
On Densman, yes, right off of Southeast 14th Street.
Mhm.
Yes. I did not know you had that session with the parents. That is wonderful.
Yes.
You've been doing this how many years?
For the past 4 years. Every Tuesday of my life goes there.
Yes. And with the parents working with you, do you get other calls from them ever saying, thank you very much, Rosie, you really helped us? How long do you work with a parent? Or
I
parents?
work for as long as we have to. I say we because it's the parents and myself working. Yes, I have parents. Parents are so grateful for everything you
Yes.
do for them. I have parents that tell me, come eat at my house. Thank you so very much. Or they want to cook for me for some reason.
Yes.
Maybe that's why I've gained weight all these years.
That's all right. If that is them being gracious to you,
Yes,
that
they're
is
so
wonderful.
grateful. But they're able to tell me exactly how they feel, and I'm able to give them resources and referrals
Yes.
and connect them with people that are going to help them.
What would you say is one of your most successful stories that you've had working with parents and taking a child or children and pulling them up and a success story? Do you have any of those that you tell?
I have lots of them, but one that comes to mind is a young man that had a lot of problems with communication with his parents, and then he was going the wrong road to doing drugs. But I was able to intervene because of the parents. The parents were the ones that cried for
Yeah.
help. And because of that, they brought him to my office, and we were able to intervene, and I was able to refer him out and get counseling. But not only that, I also do follow-up. I follow up with that young man, visit him at school or visit him at the home, visit him with his parents and see how things are going. And because someone cares for that individual will succeed. A lot of our kids just want somebody to listen to them, pay attention to them, and love them, show them that someone loves them. And this young man graduated from high school when he was not going to.
Oh, how great.
It's
Now
been the last
that's
3
the
years.
success we want to hear about.
Yes. So that came to mind. He graduated, and he is now going to Mountain View College.
To Mountain View. Now, that's going the second mile. When you get them out of high school, usually you lose some of them there. But this one has gone on to Mountain View, and isn't that great?
Yes, it is. So that's why I love this job, and every minute is worth it because of the successes that come to mind. And a lot of them do, but this one, like you said, just stood out.
Tell me a little bit more about Tony and Amanda. Tony, is he still working at Vaught?
Tony is working at Vaught, and he's thinking of retiring. So
And he's worked there how many years now?
Gosh,
A bunch.
a bunch, over
Yes.
20-some years.
Over 20-some-odd years. And Amanda is where in school?
Amanda, believe it or not, is going to college, and she's also tutors migrant children with the district.
How wonderful.
And she has done this for the past year, and now she's helping the ESL classes at Grand Prairie 9th Grade Center.
And that's English as a second language.
Yes.
Oh, that is wonderful.
She's
now,
doing that
let's
at
get
night.
back. Where did she go to school in Grand Prairie?
She went to a private school.
All right. Which
She
one?
went to Immaculate Conception
Immaculate
first.
Conception. Oh, that's a good school.
Yes.
Okay, and then from Immaculate Conception
She went to Bishop Dunn.
to Bishop Dunn.
That was because I wasn't here before that.
Yes. Oh, that Bishop Dunn was a wonderful
Mm-hmm.
wonderful school. Bill Moser has all of his children go there, and I think Peter is just graduated from Bishop Dunn. His
Yes,
older
I
son.
love Bishop Dunn.
Yes, and it has a real wonderful reputation.
Thank
and,
you.
And after she finished at Bishop Dunn, where'd she go?
She went to Mountain View to get her basics.
All right,
And
Mountain
is
View for
now-
a couple of years?
Yes, and is now going to UTA.
UTA,
Mhm.
okay. That is so close by. Isn't that wonderful for
Mhm.
you?
Yes, it is. And then she works part-time from 6 to 8 with the ESL program.
All right. I'd like for you to look out to Raul and your camera number 2. And I'd like for you to give a little word of encouragement to all of the boys and girls that success doesn't just happen usually. It takes a lot of what, and I want you to tell them what.
Yes, success doesn't just happen. You have to want to succeed, and you have to stay in school. Stay in school, and if you need help, ask for help. There are people that love you, and there are people that care about you. And just stay in school and stay away from drugs and ask for help. That's the key point. Ask. Ask questions. If you don't understand something, let somebody know you don't understand. And if you need help, don't hesitate to ask for help.
That is wonderful. Now, we have about 2 minutes left on our interview, and I'd like for you to tell me, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? Are you going to be doing this always, or do you have aspirations to do anything further in your career?
I have aspirations to have my own business, to have my own counseling center, but that's still some
Way down the
time.
line.
Yes.
Way down the
And
line.
if I win the lotto, I want to have a facility where people can just come and get help, free help.
Free help. And if you decide that you want to further your education anymore, do you have any aspirations in that direction?
Yes, I would like to be a doctor. Maybe maybe next year, start that program.
Maybe next year.
I'm always working on myself. In fact, I tell everybody, always have goals. And in fact, that's what I needed to tell the kids. I tell the kids that all the time. Have goals in your life. You always have goals to aspire to be something, to go for something. And you always have to sit back and look at your life and then move forward.
Would you like to thank the Grand Prairie ISD for giving you that opportunity? You have 1 minute to do that.
Yes, I thank Dr. Barbosa. I thank my boss, Sandra De La Cruz. I thank everyone at the Grand Prairie ISD for helping me be who I am. Thank you.
And for having an opportunity to do what with boys and girls?
Assist them and help them in their fight against drugs and in staying in school. Everybody can. You can.
Give them your magic telephone number and tell them Red Ribbon Day week one more time.
Red Ribbon Week is October 25th through the 29th, and you can always call me for help. Call me at 972-237-4025.
That is wonderful. It's been a delight to have
Thank you.
two members of the Cortez family here that are so knowledgeable about so many things that we all need. And it's been delightful to having you to come in, Rosie. And we've followed your career with the Grand Prairie ISD. We've had you on our